From a secret note that exposed a well-kept secret to the death of the most famous magician ever, here are the top 5 stories that actually happened on Halloween. Hello Storyticians, we have ordered these stories from the least to most interesting. Are you ready? Let's go. Story number 5. Halloween celebrations took place, and the people around the world filled their houses and streets with scary decorations. Just a few days later, in Denver, Colorado, a mailman was delivering his daily packages like he always had done. When he reached the destination, he stopped and walked towards it. He climbed the stairs where he found a corpse as a Halloween decoration. Without giving it much thought, he took a step to the side, walked past it, delivered the package, and continued with his day. Days later, seemingly from nowhere, a family started publicly lashing out against the mailman. They were shooting all types of claims against the US Postal Service, so they investigated what had happened. Apparently, the 46-year-old Dale Porch was coming home after his night shift at the Regional Transportation District in Denver on November 2nd, when he collapsed on the porch steps and died. Different family members furiously claimed that the mailman had to have seen the dying or dead Dale Porch, and that he had done nothing about it. "I don't know how he sleeps at night," said Heidi Porch, the man's wife. The Postal Service confirmed that a package was delivered, but the mailman swore that he thought it was only another Halloween decoration. Creepy, right? Story number 4. 2 women had been colluding for months to execute what they thought was the perfect plan. They had gone through every possible outcome. They had practiced their every move. One of them was the brains of the operation, and the other was the muscle. How would they do it? Knife? Maybe poison? No, they went for a gun. The time came on October 31st of 1957, on Halloween, and the 2 women were parked outside the house with a borrowed car. From the timing to their outfits, everything was meticulously planned. At 11:30 p.m, Miss Goldine put on a mask, hid her gun, and walked to the front door. A man opened the door, and Goldine put a bullet through his chest and killed him. They ran back to the car, and they both fled the scene. They buried the evidence and gave back the car, thinking their cold plan had been executed perfectly. That wasn't the case though, as they were eventually discovered and captured. The reason behind the murder? It still isn't clear. All that we know is that the victim was Peter Fabiano, a 35-year-old hairdresser, and that he was married to a woman called Betty. We also know that all of the women involved in the case were divorcees, and that the killers were sentenced to 5 years in prison. If you want to read more about it, you can find this case as The Trick or Treat Murderer. Story number 3. You probably know who Harry Houdini is. For many, he's the best magician and escapist that has ever lived. He performed hundreds of escapes, which frequently included handcuffs, being chained, immersed or buried, and many other dangerous situations. After 30 years of a perfect record, having amassed thousands of fans, it was believed that he could survive anything. In October 1926, a strange series of events clouded his life. For starters, on the 11th day of that month, while performing, he was injured by a faulty piece of equipment. He finished his act, albeit showing clear signs of pain. But then it was revealed that he had suffered from a fractured ankle. The doctors advised him to commit to full rest, but he didn't stop. Houdini kept on tour, giving lectures in Montreal. And then, on October 22nd, he received some students in his dressing room. One of them asked if it was true that he could resist punches in the stomach. As Houdini had said yes, the student gave him a handful of quick and sharp punches. The escapist was on a couch due to his recovering ankle, so he couldn't prepare for the hits. He seemed to have been in considerable pain after that. Although Houdini disregarded the incident, he started sensing pain in his stomach. Stubborn as he was, he decided to show up to his next performance on October 24th. He performed to a crowd in Detroit, but he was then rushed to the hospital with an apparent case of appendicitis. The doctors managed to remove his appendix, but it had been ruptured days before. His condition only worsened until he died on October 31st, 1926. Doctors said this all started with the punches that the student had gave him. Some prevailing theories claimed that his death was planned by some who despised him because of his spiritualist views, and it is a spooky coincidence that he died exactly on Halloween. Story number 2. The night the Candyman struck, October 31st, 1974. After that night, Halloween died for the whole city. Each year after that, the streets were empty on the last night of October. There were no costumes or decorations to be seen. They were all afraid, kids and adults alike. Everything changed once the news struck. One of the kids that were hunting for treats that atrocious night came publicly to talk about what happened. This is what he had to say. Hard to believe it was 37 years ago tonight, a night when an 8-year-old boy living in the Houston suburb of Deer Park was murdered. Timothy O'Brien died that night after eating trick-or-treat candy laced with cyanide. The pity sticks was given to him by his father. It was the only pieces of candy his father allowed him to eat that night before heading off to bed. Only Timothy didn't head to his bedroom to dream of ghosts and goblins. He stated the candy tasted bitter. Within minutes, he was vomiting and lost consciousness. He was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. Days later, Ronald Clark O'Brien, the boy's father, was arrested. He had murdered his son on Halloween to get the $30,000 insurance policy. He was handed the death sentence. On March 31st, 1984, Texas Department of Corrections death row inmate number 529, also known as the Candyman, was lethally injected. Story number 1. It was 2012. Halloween was so close, Julie Keith decided to start adorning her house. She had bought some decorations almost a year ago, and it was finally time to use them. However, when she opened the package, a piece of paper fell out. Surprised, she picked it up to quickly realize it was a handwritten note. Curious, she started to feel an adrenaline rush after reading every word. The first part of the letter read as follows: "If you occasionally buy this product, please kindly resend this letter to the World Human Rights Organization. Thousands of people here will thank and remember you forever." Julie was shocked. After pondering if this was a joke, she started to reach out to the human rights groups until she got an answer. The story hit international news in no time. Honestly, this story is so profound that we are going to dedicate it a whole video in the future. For now, please hit the like button to know how many of you made it to the end of the video. About the story, our preliminary research points towards it being true, and that the affected were released and the note sender was eventually found, but we will have to have a deeper look at these events. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. There are other stories where these came from. Listen to the scary story of this Elsa doll by clicking here. Now, go live the most hair-raising of all stories, the story of your life.